Howdy folks, you're watching Deuce and Guns, and today we're going to do an extreme diesel oil change. It's going to be diesel because it's my 7.3 liter F250, and it's going to be extreme because not only we're going to be changing the oil in the crankcase, but also the high pressure oil pump reservoir. Let's get to it. Alrighty folks, before we get started, let's go over what I'm talking about here and all the oil I'm going to be changing out. So first of all, the crankcase. That's where the majority of all the oil is going to be. So you have this layer of oil here that is all down here. That is where all the oil drips down from the engine and is stored. That's what we're going to drain. There's a little drain plug right here, and we're going to drain all that oil out of there. And that's the majority of all the engine oil changes out there is you just change the oil that's in the crankcase. Well, in a diesel engine, especially the 7.3 liter diesel engine, some of that oil goes up here to the HPOP, which stands for high pressure oil pump. And what that does is that pressurizes engine oil, sends it across the engine, and is used to actuate the injectors. Now, in a perfect world, once the oil is used to actuate the injector, then it drips down back into the crankcase and is recycled, goes through the engine oil filter, and so on and so forth. Well, apparently, on occasion, this oil doesn't actually drip down there, or drips down there very, very little, and the majority of it just keeps on going back and forth between the high pressure pump and the injector, getting older and older and more, turns more and more into sludge versus actual engine oil. So a lot of experts out there will tell you to change the crankcase engine oil, and there's a little drain, not drain, there's actual inspection plug on the top of the reservoir for the high pressure oil pump. And you can stick a tube down there and suck out all the oil in the reservoir here. So a lot of experts will tell you to change the oil here and here in a 7.3 liter diesel engine. Now this truck is a great test case for this issue because it has 200,000 miles on it, and I know for a fact, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the oil in the high pressure oil pump reservoir has never been changed. So we're going to find out in 200,000 miles, is that an issue or not? Now let's go ahead and drain the oil out of the crankcase. Now this particular engine and year uses a 3/4 inch socket, which I have installed on my 1/2 inch drive here. Now this is a 7.3 liter diesel engine on a 97 F250. So that may be completely different on your particular engine. Now make sure your catch pan is large enough. The engine takes 15 quarts of oil, and I've got a 16 quart capacity catch pan here. Make sure you take out the air plug there and take out the stopper, lay that aside, don't lose it. And the oil's already been warmed up, so don't worry about that. There we go. Alrighty, while that drains, let's go ahead and suck out all the oil out of the high pressure oil pump. First of all, we're going to raise the hood, which takes a latch inside the cab, and right here, there she is in all her glory. Now I will be putting another camera back here so you can see it better, but the actual reservoir is right here. It's a big, huge thing. It holds about 1 quart from what I understand, so let's find out. You right now are sitting right on top of the fuel filter. Right here is the high pressure oil pump reservoir, and here is the plug. Right, there we go. I'm going on the mirror image in the camera here, but there is the actual plug I need to take out to suck out that oil. So let's see if I can get that unlodged first. I want to get this to move without hurting my camera gear. Oh, that's not budging. Oh, you can tell right now it has not moved since '96 when the engine was built. I believe that broke free. Yep, it did. I did not break the actual Allen key. Initial impression. The oil is on top of the plug here. Looks fine. Now, in order to suck the actual oil out of the reservoir, I had to build a little apparatus here. I know, look at this. It's some random tube that I had laying around. I just checked, that's the oil on the end of there. I just checked to make sure it would fit in there. It does, which is good. Had some old, I think this might be brake line or vacuum hose. I don't know what this is. Again, something I had laying around the shop. And I duct taped both of those tubes into a George Dickel bottle. Now, if you're ever a guest at my house, you'll be offered a whiskey. And what whiskey I offer you will tell you what I think of your taste buds. If you are someone I'm pretty sure will be able to appreciate a fine whiskey, you will get a fine whiskey. if I think you won't appreciate a fine whiskey, you're gonna get yourself some George Dickel. Now how this apparatus works is I have this vacuum tube right here, and I'm gonna plug it up to I might have to duct tape some of this, but I'm gonna basically just plug that into my shop vac, and that will create a vacuum, a catch basin, so it's not sucked into my shop vac, and then I'm gonna just stick this down into the reservoir and suck it up into here. Hopefully that's gonna work. Oh, okay, here we go. That's what I pulled out of it there. And as you can see, get that close up there, there's no sludge in that at all. It's just regular engine oil has been used. Looks just fine to me. Now your mileage may vary, and I would suggest to do this if you have a 7.3 just to check on it. But mine seems to be operating the way that it was intended. And now let's go ahead and continue on the rest of the oil change. And now put the drain plug back into the crankcase. Some people like to change out the washer, some don't care. I personally do not care. If I leak a little bit, it does not matter. I've got 15 quarts in there to play with. And I'm sure there are specific torque specs on here. Usually it's 15 or 20 foot-pounds. Now for these oil filters, I like to use a strap wrench, and it works really, really well for these. You can get a size-specific strap wrench or oil wrench for these, but it really doesn't matter. Let that drain a little bit, and I will take it the rest of the way off. Oh, there we go. Let that drain. Yes, I probably really should have gloves on for this, but you know, I don't deal with oil every single day. Should not be an issue. And I'll clean up pretty well later. All the old oil has been drained out of the crankcase. The old filter is taken off, and all that's drained out of there. And of course, I've got the oil out of the high pressure reservoir. Now let's start to put everything back together. I've already got the drain plug put into the crankcase. Here's a new filter here. I always recommend to go with the filter recommended by the manufacturer. In this case, the FL 1995. Great big filter there. Here we go. You want to make sure that the rubber O-ring is on there. Also, before I put this on there, I will check to make sure that the rubber O-ring came off with the old filter and didn't get stuck up there. As far as oil goes, I've got 4 gallons of Rotella 1540 here, which is really, really good stuff. Ford makes their own Motorcraft version for this, and it's good as well. Pretty much all of it's the same now. As far as the weights are concerned, just get the proper weight and make sure that it is a correct oil for the application, and you're good to go. This huge oil filter, it has a capacity about a quart or so, and I go ahead and fill it up there so then it minimizes the dry start, which would be the engine running without oil before it pumped through here. So you want to make sure that this is all filled up with oil. It's also good right now, I've got some oil right here, so I'm going to rub that onto the O-ring to make sure that the O-ring gets nicely sealed to the engine. There we go, she started. Paper towel here and make sure I get a good purchase on there to really get it cranked on there and sealed. Now we've got everything sealed up. Now it's time to start adding oil. First of all, we want to go ahead and put oil into the high pressure reservoir. You don't want to start it without that in there. It holds about a quart per the George Dickel bottle, about a quart and a half, which is about what I got left after filling up the oil filter. Now one thing about F-250s is the fact you gotta have a stair step or something to get on top of these things. Yep, that sucker's full. Now time to go ahead and put the plug in there. That's on the Allen wrench. It's a 3/16 Allen wrench. The thing about these F-250s, especially with the diesel engine, is about half the truck is metric, the other half is not. Now it's time to go ahead and add oil to the engine crankcase. So I've got this old funnel here, and my dad taught me to always just stuff a rag down inside that funnel. And that'll make sure the inside of the funnel is relatively clean, because you don't want to pour a bunch of garbage through a funnel and then into your engine. And here we go. Put the cap right back on, and I'm going to secure that in the back somewhere where it will drain and collect at the spout. Now I'm going to pour the next gallon. Now the 7.3 liter engine uses 15 quarts of oil, and I've got 4 gallons here, which is 16 quarts of oil. I've always just put the total 16 quarts of oil in it, and I've never had an issue. So it's just as easy just to throw 4 gallons in there and leave it. Also, if you do drain the high pressure pump reservoir, make sure you put that cap back on, because it will shoot oil out like a fountain. Okay, I'm gonna let that one drain here. Here we go. Here's the first gallon of oil that I had draining. So I cracked this right here open, and I will get another bunch of oil come out. So look at that. Now the thinner oils, you don't have this much of an issue. It drains pretty quickly. But this thicker diesel oil, it will stick inside for a while. You got to really drain them quite some time to get the entire amount out. Oil filler cap back in place. And now we're going to start her up and check for leaks. So I have to say, the extreme part of my diesel oil change today, I don't think it was necessary. I personally do not think it was very necessary, because the oil that I got out of the high pressure oil pump reservoir was exactly the same as what I drained out of the crankcase. So everything's working normally as far as my engine is concerned. That does not mean that everything will act normally in your 7.3 liter engine, because I have seen video of where people have pumped out just pure sludge out of that. Now I don't know what situation causes that, but obviously I do not have that problem in my truck. So I would recommend every now and again for you guys to do that on occasion, just to check, just as a diagnostic tool. But for every single oil change, I don't think it's really necessary. Maybe even just put a finger down there just to test and look at the oil itself. You may not need to have to drain it to replace it, but just check it, just to see if anything else is plugged up down the road. Well guys, that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a like and go up and subscribe. A lot more is on the way. And if you have any comments, questions, or show what it is, leave that in the comment box below the video. And especially if you have any comments or questions about the F250 or the 7.3 diesel engine, let me know about that. I do plan on making several more videos about this truck and this engine in the near future, so stay tuned. And as always, you guys have a great day. See ya.